And so people listening today, let's just say an average 40-year-old, if these therapies prove to work, and if we can get them widespread, what is the value proposition in terms of X years? How long could the average 40-year-old live, do you think, if these really work?
Yeah, so the most important thing people think about, we're living during the most extraordinary time ever. We're in the midst of an AI, not revolution. It's a massive disruption. It's a reinvention of everything. And so we talk about extending health span, and then second to that, lifespan, right? You and I have become friends of late. I love the work that you've done, and your focus on extending health span versus lifespan, right? Drooling in a wheelchair at 120 is no interest to anybody. But recently, so I spent half my life in AI. I have a large venture fund in AI, a little over $1 billion that we invest out of MIT and Harvard. I advise a number of AI companies, and then I have a large venture fund in longevity biotech, Bold Longevity Growth Fund, and I invest and build companies in that space. So the two are intimately interconnected because AI is going to have the single most outsized impact on longevity. And if you believe folks, which I do, like Ray Kurzweil, right? Ray's been a mentor for me. He's got
Singularity.
Singularity. We've co-founded.
Brilliant man.
Yeah, we co-founded Singularity University. He wrote 2 incredible books. He's got an 84% accuracy rate if you look it up on Wikipedia for his predictions. And one of his predictions is we reach this thing called longevity escape velocity by the end of the year 2030. That's like 5 years from now, right? So those who are in good health will intercept breakthroughs that will extend our health span for every year that we're alive, extend our health span for more than a year. That's the vision. And it's not coming from good hopes or better eating. Those kinds of outsized gains are going to come from breakthroughs derived from artificial intelligence, understanding physiologically why we age, how to slow it, stop it, and reverse it. And so when I'm on stages talking about this, Dan, there are 3 people I sort of like pull quotes from. One is Sir Demis Hassabis. Demis is the CEO, founder of DeepMind, which is sort of Alphabet's AI engine. And he was on 60 Minutes predicting that we would cure all disease within the next decade, which is a pretty extraordinary claim. And then you've got Dario Amodei, who's the CEO of Anthropic, at the World Economic Forum in January of 25, talking about potential to double the human lifespan in the next 5 to 10 years. Add that to what Ray says, add that to our $101 million health span X Prize, trying to reverse the ravages of aging.
Which you're behind as well.
Which I raised the capital and helped create and build. And then there are people like David Sinclair and George Church. And there's enough scientific focus, energy, drive, leaning towards this idea that the current increase in life and health expectancy is going to take an upward leap.
Yes, but when from 1850 to about 1990, we saw life expectancy grow by 2.5 years per decade. So in other words, if you could live another decade, you got an extra 2.5 years.
So 3 months per year, right?
Yeah. Well, that acceleration life expectancy is flattened off. In fact, it went negative.
It dipped during COVID.
But it has continued to slow. It's continued to plateau since 1990.
The numbers I saw look like they started to pick back up at that rate, but maybe,
Jay Olshansky, a demographer from University of Chicago, wrote a very influential paper in Nature showing that we're starting to plateau. So the interventions you're thinking of somehow have to overcome the current headwinds that life expectancy have today. Yeah. And this potential doubling of life expectancy in 5 years, where's it going to come from?
Yeah. So first of all, you and I both agree. I've written my book, Longevity Guidebook, like the stuff.
It's a very good book, by the way. Makes it very simple.
Thank you. I wanted to make, so Tony Robbins and I wrote a book called Life Force, which is like 800 pages, which is brilliant. It was #1 New York Times bestseller for 2 months, but it's 800 pages. It's a lot to digest. Yeah. And I wanted to make something that was very actionable. And I think, the clear point is sleep, diet, exercise, mindset, fundamentally, those things. And in mindset, I include community and love and family and all of that. Those things will get you so far.
That's right.
Right? But can those things get you to a healthy 90-year-old, 100-year-old? I think they can. And that work that you've done so well,
That's
that
where
shows
Blue
that.
Zones is, yeah.
Exactly. To get beyond that, I think we have to overcome our existing biology. And so the way I think about it is each of us are a collection of 40 trillion human cells that make us up. And every one of those cells is running 2 to 5 billion calculations or chemical reactions per second per cell.
Wow.
It's massively complex.
Complex.
And so there's no way for a human physician to really grok that all, to understand it all and integrate that all. But AI will, and AI can. I'll tell you my basic thesis here, and I'm always looking to test it out on brilliant people like yourself, which is we do have species on this planet that live, routinely well past 100 years. The bowhead wild makes it to 200 years. The Greenland shark.
Galapagos turtle, yeah.
Yeah, and the turtles, the Greenland shark makes it to 500 years. And my question is, if they can live that long, why can't we? And my sense is it's either a hardware problem or a software problem. I believe that this is the decade where we're finally getting the tools that will enable us to actually begin to modify the software, modify the hardware. And it isn't going to happen. These extensions in human health don't happen from eating something different or sleeping an extra hour.
Right.
They're going to have to come from a number of biological interventions, which some people will be willing to do and others will not.
And don't you have to come up with an intervention that somehow intervenes to all 40 trillion cells? Because
you do.
There's so many, we have our brains and we have heart disease and we have joints that break down. And how does one intervention address the 99 different systems in our bodies?
Yeah. So there's a few different fundamental beliefs, or if you would, scientific theses that are being put forward here. So David Sinclair, whose work David's a dear friend. I just did a really in-depth podcast with him on my Moonshots channel, which was one of the most watched that I've done. And in that, we talk through what he would call the age reversal strategies right now. And the work that he's been working on, he's published on I think it was the cover of Nature in 2020 about age reversal in the eye of a rat or eye of mice. And now that work has been replicated in primates. It's about to go into humans this year. And the idea is that, Dr. Yamanaka out of Japan, backed by Mark Benioff's philanthropy, found these 4 genes, these 4 proteins, the Yamanaka factors, that are able to take an existing older differentiated cell, a skin cell principally, but could be a neuron, a hepatocyte, could be any cell, and take it back to a youthful state of basically a stem cell that can then differentiate.
Isn't the metaphor kind of going back to the factory settings of our cells?
Exactly. I mean, so here's a question when I'm in an audience, this. I say, listen, when you're born, you get 3.2 billion letters from your mom and 3.2 billion letters from your dad. It's your genome. It codes for some 22,000 genes. And you got the same genome at birth, at 20, at 50, at 100. Why do you look different at 100? Why don't you have that 6-pack that you had when you were 18?
It's now a keg.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on? And it turns out it's not the genes that you have. It's what genes are on and what genes are off. Effectively, what's called your epigenome. Epi from the Greek word for above. And the hottest area of research right now is this thing called epigenetic reversal. So can I go back? My epigenome right now controls these genes are on, these genes are off. That makes a skin cell and not a brain cell, right? But as we age, like for example, we have genes for I think like 22 or 23 collagen genes. And when we're young, all those genes are turned on and our skin is very soft and supple. As we get older, many of these genes get silenced. They get turned off. The epigenome shuts them down. But if you could reverse them so they're on, you'll get more youthful skin again. And so David has been working, as has George Church and others, to use gene therapies to insert 3 out of the 4 Yamanaka factors. 4 Yamanaka factors take that skin cell back to a pluripotent stem cell where it can become anything. 3 of those factors, leaving off 1 of them, takes it back to a more youthful skin cell. And so he's demonstrated with this the ability to take these cells into a more youthful state. They behave younger, they look younger. But what he's been doing of late, and he describes this in detail in the Moonshots podcast, is he basically has screened millions, maybe hundreds of millions of AI-generated molecules that instead of a gene therapy where you're using a virus to go into different cells, you're taking a cocktail of 3 molecules. And those molecules taken as a pill, his words, not mine, 3 days, 3 times a week over a few months will reverse your physiological age. And so for me, that's like the holy grail, right? Because those molecules digested into your circulatory system hit all of the cells in your body. So we'll see.
Just to put it in language a 16-year-old would understand, for example, these somehow go to all 40 trillion cells in our bodies.
Just like when you take vitamin D or you take, you eat food, the protein, the glucose gets distributed by your circulatory system to all of the cells in your body. When you take a medicine, when you take an antibiotic or you take whatever, your circulatory system is basically distributing these molecules through all the cells of your body.
And they get to all the cells.
Yeah.
And this is perhaps oversimplifying, but these 3 molecules somehow get distributed to all of our cells, and they set them back to factory settings, more or less?
They trigger them to go to a more youthful state. And again, listen, this is early in the work.
Yeah.
My point is that's one approach. And there are countless approaches coming because if you know this, I mean, health span extension is the most valuable thing in the world. I mean, what would someone not pay for an extra years of 30 years of vitality?
Yes.
The other thing, Dan.
Priceless.
Yeah, it is priceless. We've exchanged these quotes before, but the man or woman who has their health has 1,000 dreams. The man or woman who does not has but one, like get my health back.
So if you like that clip, there's a lot more where that came from. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you won't miss our new videos as they come out each week.